Hi everyone, I am Richard Todd, the host of Rich Comic Book and Video Games. I know, should really put an S on that. Anyway, I'm going to be continuing to read Chapter 7. While the droids kept their weapons aimed at Han and Chewbacca, Chief Snowdap leered. It appears the clip droid was correct, Snowdap said. Your bag was full when you left the storage center. I expect the margarine from Vienna will be most grateful for the return of the wedding gown. Han grinned. She's probably giving you a big reward, Snowdap. That is, unless she finds out that it was you who stole her gown, and then faked handing it on my ship. Chief Smodop stuffed the expensive gown back into the bag. Facing Han, he said, I doubt very much the Margravine would ever hear an accusation against me. Let me guess, Han said. After you stole the gown, you hid it in the compartment inside the droid that boarded my ship with you. Then you placed the gown in my friend's travel bag. Smudap looked as if he didn't know what to do. Why would I do that? He declared. That's what I would have said if it wasn't because you needed someone to blame for the theft, Han continued. Also, you figured if my friend and I did leave the storage center with a full bag, we might have taken something available. Maybe something we could give to you in exchange for letting us go. Smurdup smiled. You're close, but not quite, he said. And certainly you two took something valuable. I intend to have it, and I don't plan on letting you leave Farnak Station, at least not alive. Hans sighed. Well, I guess there's no point in playing it nice, he said. He looked at Chewbacca and shouted loudly, Fire! In response to Han's command, something popped out of the Falcon's lower hull. It was the ship's automatic blaster cannon. As Han and Chewbacca leaped away from Smurda and the droids, the ground blazer opened fired. The security droids didn't react fast enough to the Falcon's cannon. The first volley of blaster bullets cut one droid in half. The other droid managed to squeeze off a single shot at the ceiling, but it was downed by another blast of blaster fire. Smurdup shouted as he ran for the docking bay's exit, scrambling to the Falcon's landing ramp. Hans shouted, Chewie, grab the travel bag! Hard on Hans' heels, Chewbacca seized the bag and the dress and sprinted up into the Falcon. Sorry, not for the boat. The docking bay's emergency alarms began blaring, and the ground buzzer was still firing as Han raised the Falcon's ramp and sealed the hatch. Chewbacca tossed the travel bag into the main hold as Han chased Chewbacca into the cockpit. He noticed the floor panel was still in place over the hidden compartment. Jabba's, Jabba's cargo is safe. They entered the cockpit and jumped into the behind the controls. Start the engines, Han said, and fast! Chewbacca threw switches and pressed buttons. He wailed in a question. Let me deal with the flight control, Han replied, and switched on the ground buzzer. Just be ready to launch. Two quad laser cannon turrets were located at the top and bottom of the Falcon. The quad laser cannons were no more powerful than the ground buzzer. Although the laser cannons were more accurate than firing from the turrets, Han had rigged them to a control stick inside the cockpit. Han was not concerned about the accuracy at the moment. He activated the upper laser cannon aimed at the general direction of the docking bay's tractor beam projector and squeezed the trigger. Oh! A moment later, Han's target exploded. Okay. More alarms started in the docking bay. Robotic ceiling mounted fire extinguishers spraying the blazing wreckage. Hand aimed at the cannons at the full storage tank and fired again. The explosion was incredible. As docking bay rapidly filled with fire and smoke, Han activated the command unit. Flight control, he shouted. We have weapons malfunction in docking bay 21. Request emergency evacuation. He fired at the far wall. Drop the shields! Drop the shields! And as Han expected, the bay's energy field lowered. Han fired another blaster just because he felt like it. Then he cut the comm and said, Punch it, Chewie! The Falcon zoomed out of the bay and into space. Bah, bah, bah. As they sped away from the Fornax station, Han said, Sorry to ruin your tour of the fire rings, Chewie, but we had to get into hyperspace now. Chewbacca made a series of adjustments to the controls. A red light flashed onto the data console. Han pointed to the flashing light and groaned. Oh. Han's eyes went wide. What? What do you mean the hyperdrive's not working? Chewbacca groaned again. He didn't actually say what he said. He meant exactly what he said. I don't know what that means. Anyway, there's the next. Now that's the exciting finish to this. If you want me to continue, I could. It's not. It's only a few pages. Okay, fine. You got a 2 in 1. Chapter 8. Han shook his head. Why didn't the hyperdrive malfunction now? But as soon as the words were out of his mouth, he thought, Smurdap. Chewbacca let out a woeful growl and said, Maintain this course, Chewie, but as much distance between us and Max Station as you can. I need to check something. Han bolted into the cockpit. He entered the main hold, neatly stumbling over Chewie's travel bag and quickly inspecting the engineering station, where he found himself feeling ill. Han switched on the engineering station's comlink and said, Chewie, can you hear me? My attempt at Chewie. Good news, bad news, Henry replied. First, the bad news. When Synap and his droid boarding our ship, they didn't just stuff a wedding gown into our bag, they also locked a circuit jammer on the engineering console to shut down our hyperdrive. Hearing this, Chewbacca roared so loudly that Han could hear him from the main hold without the comlink. Hey, I'm not thrilled about it either, Han answered. But here's the good news. I think I can remove the jammer. But it'll take time to. Han was interrupted by an unexpected rumble of explosive bursts from outside the ship. The Falcon shuddered violently. Chewie! Han shouted. He's shooting at us! Chewbacca answered him with a hoot and a snort. An Imperial signal? Han replied with surprise. That must be Smatap's ship. Han removed the circuit jammer. Would have to wait. Han ran to the access tube that led to the Falcon's laser cannon turrets. Another explosive rocked the Falcon. Han howled, "Take offensive action, Chewie!" Han grabbed a hold of the ladder and extended between the upper and lower turrets. He climbed up the ladder and settled into the swirly and mounted gunner's seat. Slapping the comm link around his head, he seized the cannon's trigger grips and shouted, "Chewie, I'm on the Durcell turret." Suddenly, green laser fire streaked past Han's turret and bounded on at the Falcon's deflector shields. Han swung the cannons to sight the enemy ship. It was an old MU-2 long-range shuttle with a pair of fire-linked forward laser cannons. Han adjusted the cannon's targeting computer and aimed at the incoming shuttle. Six drone fighters raced away from the Synap station, heading straight into the Falcon. Chewbacca saw them too and wailed over the comm. Furious, Han fired his cannons at Synap's shuttle. As Synap took evasive action, Han scrambled out of the turret and ran back into the cockpit. "Hey, Chewie," Han said as he practically fell into the pilot's seat. "Ready for the tour of the fire rings?" Chewbacca shook his head and howled. And thus, the ending of Chapter 8. See you around.